Hello students, let's start with the third part of the chapter Human Health and Diseases. In previous two PowerPoints of this chapter, that is part 1 and part 2, we had talked about the definition of health, we had discussed hygiene, then we had talked about the different aspects of immune system, immunology, we studied different definitions. We also talked about cells of immune system, how they respond to the foreign pathogen entering or invading our body. Then in the second PowerPoint, we had talked about the structure of antibody, how antibodies interact with antigen, ABO blood group system, etc. Now in this we are going to talk about what is mean by a disease and the types of diseases and different organisms which cause diseases in human beings. So let's get started. First, the definition of disease. It is defined as condition of disturbed or deranged functioning of one or more organs or organ systems of body. How this is caused? Due to infection of pathogens, maybe defective diet, or also heredity. So these three factors are very important. Pathogenic attack can occur. A person might not be taking proper diet, or he or she must have inherited certain diseases. Then what are the types of diseases? Congenital means which are by birth, and acquired which are gained, or what you can say which are received or which a person gets during his lifetime. Now, congenital, present from birth, may be genetic abnormality or metabolic disorder. There can be problems in the genetic makeup of an individual, or that individual might be suffering from any metabolic disorder. These diseases were permanent previously, but now they can be cured using modern research, such as gene therapy, enzyme replacement therapy are certain measures, certain tools which by which the congenital diseases also can be cured. Then acquired, which develop after birth and which are divided into two types: communicable or infectious, non-communicable or non-infectious. The name suggests what they are doing. Now in communicable, these are transmitted from infected person to other healthy person directly or indirectly, like for example malaria and typhoid. From one infected person, the disease can be passed to other directly, in the sense through air, through infected utensils, or with the help of a vector such as a mosquito. So that is an indirect way of transmission of disease. In non-communicable, the transmission is not from infected to other healthy directly or indirectly. For example, cancer and deficiency diseases. Cancer cannot be transmitted. Deficiency diseases also cannot be transmitted, or they are non-communicable diseases. Then what are pathogens? Pathogens are all disease causing organisms. Communicable diseases are caused by agents like viruses, bacteria, fungi, helminths, worms, etc. These are the pathogens. Many pathogens use other organisms like vectors. Like I said in the previous slide, mosquito is a vector which transmits the pathogen, malarial pathogen, which is called as Plasmodium vivax, from one healthy person, from one diseased person to other healthy person. These vectors are actually parasites which we regularly come across. Parasite is an organism that lives in or on the body of an organism, and it derives nutrition from the host organism. Let's take an example of louse, bedbug. These are found outside the body, human body, and they suck blood from humans and they derive their nutrition. These are called as ectoparasites. Endoparasites are the parasites which are inhabiting inside the body of host, like for example Plasmodium. It is protozoan endoparasite in mosquito and human beings. These are present inside. Ascaris. Ascaris is a worm which is present inside the intestine of the host. So they are called as the endoparasites. Common human diseases. Now we are going to learn a few diseases in this video, and in next I am going to cover the rest of the diseases. Now to start with, let us discuss about malaria. Malaria has a vector, mosquito. It is and the pathogen causing malaria is protist plasmodium. There are 4 species of Plasmodium: Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae, and Plasmodium falciparum. Falciparum causes serious illness while others are rarely fatal. They do not cause the death of the humans. 4 types of malaria can be seen. Now, the vector for malaria is female Anopheles mosquito. Signs and symptoms can be seen after about 7 to 15 days after the bite of infective mosquito. Initially, the symptoms are fever, headache, and chills, and it is not easily diagnosed as malaria. But classical symptoms are cyclic occurrence of high fever followed by sweating and sudden shivering. This is the feature which characterizes the malarial disease, and these episodes last for 4 to 6 hours and recur every 2 days or 3 days. This is a classical symptom of malaria. Followed by that, vomiting, convulsions, arthralgia, joint pain, anemia due to rupturing of RBCs, hemoglobinuria means blood appearing in urine, hepatomegaly, liver enlargement, retinal damage, cerebral malaria, brain infection can be seen. These are the signs and symptoms. Now here we are going to see how the pathogen completes its life cycle in 2 hosts. Now we call mosquito as a vector, but it also is a intermediate host of the parasite. Here in the diagram, the life cycle of Plasmodium in mosquito and cycle in human is shown. Now, when mosquito containing the pathogen bites human, with the saliva it releases the pathogen inside the bloodstream of human. It is transmitted from one person to other through insect vector female Anopheles. Infected female Anopheles sucks blood from human. Suppose the Anopheles first sucks blood from the infected person, and a part of life cycle is completed in the mosquito. Mosquito saliva contains the stage which is called as sporozoid. When mosquito bites, it releases sporozoids in the body of humans. These sporozoids enter human circulation. Now, the sporozoids, the elongated structures you can see here, these sporozoids, now they reproduce asexually. This is called as schizogony. They infect particularly liver cells and blood cells. There they form certain cells. These are called as the merozoites. Then these cells, erythrocytes, which contain the parasite, there the merozoites produce gametocytes. Now this is called as gamogony, and 2 gametes are formed here. Gametes are taken up. Now all this is completed in the human body. First the parasite entering as the sporozoid, then infecting the liver, forming merozoites, then erythrocytes are also infected and trophozoite is formed. Then gametocytes are formed, and after the gametocytes are formed, when the mosquito bites that human, gametocytes enter the digestive system of or gut of female Anopheles. There, these gametes fertilize in the gut of the female mosquito. After fertilization, diploid zygote is formed, which is transformed into oocyst. Now, these can be again clearly seen here. The gametes entering the digestive system, they are forming a zygote, and zygote forming the oocyst. Now, oocyst forms a large number of haploid sporozoites. Now you can again, we are returning to the same stage of the plasmodium. These haploid sporozoites, now they migrate to the salivary glands, and this stage is called as the sporogony. Now this sporogony is completed in mosquito. Now these sporozoites, when they are present in the saliva of mosquito, when this mosquito is going to bite the next healthy human being, it is going to transfer the sporozoites again into the human. This way the mosquito is a vector which is or intermediate host in which the pathogen is completing a part of its life cycle. Human is called as a definitive host in which the pathogen is completing the other part of its life cycle. Okay, so in humans, the part of life cycle that the pathogen completes is called as schizogony, and in mosquito, that the part of life cycle it completes is called as the sporogony. Humans, schizogony; mosquito, sporogony. So this way, plasmodium needs two hosts. One is intermediate, which is also called as a vector, and other is a definitive host. Then how do we diagnose it? Blood smear is used. A person who is suffering from the symptoms, from that person blood is taken out, and you can see here in the blood of that human, you can see the different stages of the pathogen. Okay, at gametocyte stage, at schizon stage, ookinete stage, trophozoite stage, and you can see the different forms of the pathogen in the RBCs. They are infecting RBCs and they are destroying RBCs also. Then also the diagnostic tests are based on the nucleic acid amplification techniques. Treatment of malaria includes artemisinin based therapies, ACTS. WHO has recommended 5 different ACTS with various combinations of artesunate, pyrimethamine, etc. So these are the drugs which you should essentially remember. Then how do you prevent the disease? Now when you stop the population of mosquitoes or vectors, automatically this malaria is stopped from infecting humans. Prevention of mosquito bite using mosquito nets and insect repellents. Spraying insecticides, draining stagnant water. Stagnant waters are the locations where mosquito larvae are abundantly found. Like mosquitoes lay their eggs, and there the larval development of mosquito occurs. So when you stop the stagnant water, when you drain it away, then the number of mosquitoes will automatically reduce. Mosquito larvae can be controlled by using Gambusia freshwater fish. Now this is called as a biocontrol. Now it's suppose there is a pond where you can see the abundant mosquito larvae growing. In that pond you can introduce these Gambusia fishes which have food as mosquito larvae. They will feed on the larvae and automatically the mosquitoes are controlled. Then the next disease is amoebiasis or amoebic dysentery. It is a common infection of human gastrointestinal tract. 15% of population of India is affected by it, caused by Entamoeba histolytica. It is a protist parasite, very small protist parasite, which is seen, which is affecting the GI tract or gastrointestinal tract. Now, how do you identify this disease? Diarrhea, flatulence, that is gases, stool with mucus, abdominal pains, cramps can be seen, loose motions basically, and appearance of blood in the stool. Mucus is a symptom, characteristic symptom. In severe cases, blood with stool is passed. Hepatomegaly, liver enlargement occurs if the parasite enters the liver. Liver develops amoebic liver abscess accompanied with fever and pain in the right abdomen. Pus formation takes place in the liver. Then mode of transmission, fecal-oral route, then eating with dirty hands and contaminated food and water. These are the three ways by which the mode of transmission occur. Now here you can see the life cycle of Entamoeba histolytica. It is a tropozoid, binary fission, then pre-cystic form, cyst, and binucleate cyst is there, quadranucleate. This is the way in a cyst form Entamoeba completes its life cycle, and the cysts of the pathogen are present in the contaminated food, vegetables. So if you don't take proper care while using the vegetables, or if you don't maintain proper hygienic condition, these cysts enter the body of humans causing the amoebiasis. How do you diagnose it? By microscopic examination of stool sample. Stool sample, when it is observed under microscope, if you find the Entamoeba there, then you can surely confirm that the person is suffering from amoebic dysentery. Treatment is by using the drugs metronidazole, tinidazole, which can destroy the pathogen in digestive tract and other tissues. How do you prevent it? Obviously maintaining the hygienic conditions, washing hands with hot water, soap after using toilets, and changing babies' diapers. Boiled water or chlorinated or filtered water can be used. Unhygienic food should be avoided. Vegetables must be properly washed and cooked. Then proper sanitary facilities including sewage disposal will help in the prevention. So these are the proper hygienic conditions we should maintain for prevention of amoebiasis. Then Ascariasis. Ascaris is a nematode worm, that is, it belongs to phylum Aschelminthes. Around world, the pathogen is Ascaris lumbricoides. Now, this is a fairly common disease in children because they have a habit of eating soil, and from there the pathogen enters the body of children. Signs and symptoms are gastrointestinal discomfort accompanied with vomiting and fever, presence of live worms in fecal matter. In children, after certain duration, deworming has to be done because when they suffer from ascariasis, they suffer from discomfort. Their mental abilities also can be reduced. Pulmonary disorders occur because this worm also travels to the lung. Pneumonitis, inflammation of alveolar wall. Respiration is also affected. Loss of appetite and weight loss. Person doesn't feel hungry because the worm is inhabiting the intestine, and it causes a fair discomfort. Eosinophilia, number of eosinophils in blood increase. How it is transmitted? Contaminated food and drinking water which contain eggs of these worms. Eggs hatch inside the intestine of new host. Larvae pass through various organs and settle as adult in digestive system. Now here in this diagram you can see, here you can see uh, ingested eggs, they hatch as larvae. They enter circulation, then lungs, trachea, pharynx, they are swallowed, and they enter the digestive tract. There they are converted into the worms. Female is longer than male. Males have hook present. They show the sexual dimorphism. And now they also show the reproduction. So with the fecal matter, adult worms also are released, and the eggs are also released in feces, and they are released in the external environment, and these eggs complete their cleavage and development. So if proper hygienic conditions are not maintained, they are again taken up by some other host. Diagnosis is by microscopic examination of stool. Treatment is by antihelminthic drugs like piperazine, mebendazole, levamisole, pyrantel, etc. Remember the medicines here. Then prevention and control, avoiding defecation in open space. So fecal matter should not be released in the open space. Personal hygienic habits like washing hands with soap and water, they help a lot. Washing vegetables thoroughly before cooking and avoiding raw vegetables is a key factor. Then last disease of this part is filariasis or elephantiasis. Causative organism is a thread-like worm, nematode worm. Vector again here is a mosquito. Three types of filariasis can be seen: lymphatic, subcutaneous, and serous. Lymphatic obviously suggests that it in the pathogen inhabits lymphatic system. Subcutaneous, below skin. Now here the causative organisms are also given. Lymphatic filariasis or elephantiasis is caused by worm Wuchereria bancrofti, Bergia malai, and Bergia timore. Now, what are the signs and symptoms? Edema with thickening of skin and underlying tissue. Edema, this painful swelling and thickening of skin can be seen. Wuchereria bancrofti affects legs, arms, breast, and scrotum. Now, in lymphatic filariasis, worms infect lymphatic system and cause enlargement of lymph vessels and nodes. So, limbs are swollen like the legs of elephants. This is seen in the patients and it clearly can be identified. Lymphedema is accumulation of lymph fluid in tissues causing swelling. Lymphatic fluid, the liquid part of blood, accumulates in the tissue and it causes a swelling. Hydroceles testes is enlarged due to accumulation of lymphatic fluid in testes. So basically here the enlargement, swelling, and accumulation of fluid is a characteristic feature or symptom of the filariasis. How it is transmitted? The causative organism is Wuchereria bancrofti, transmitted to human body by female Culex mosquito. Now you have to remember, in malaria it is the female Anopheles, and here it is female Culex mosquito. Larvae escape mosquito body and arrive on human skin. They penetrate skin, show molting, and they become adult and settle in the lymphatic system. Now here in the diagram they have shown how the pathogen affects the lymphatic system. Incubation period can be 8 to 16 months. How it is can be diagnosed and treated? Use of diethyl carbamazine citrate twice a day for 3 weeks and thereafter 5 days every 6 months is for treatment. Prevention is by mosquito control, avoiding mosquito bite using mosquito nets and insect repellents. Eradication of mosquitoes is essential for filariasis control. This way we have completed talking about 4 diseases. We will complete talking about the other diseases in the next video. Thank you.